Most of our young men are the best of the best.
Any one of us could be the next president or the next mayor.
We focus on the very best that young men are and the hope of what they will be.
Since I started going to this church, I originally did it for community service hours as a requirement for the Urban Ranger Corps, but after a while I stopped taking the hours for it because I really appreciated what I was doing and I appreciated the church so much. So when I became a member of the church, I just thought to myself, why don't I just do it for free? No hours needed, just a way to give back. My family isn't one most wouldn't be really proud of. We have it's a family of convicts. We have people that have stolen, drug addictions, murderers. I have an uncle named Lorenzo Gilliard, who was famous for being the Kansas City Strangler. I met my dad when I was 13. I met him once in my whole life. I think he seen me when I was 3. My mom told me when he met me when I was 3, he said that wasn't my child. He got the DNA test, found out I was his child, and ran off. He took me to a movie, out to dinner, and gave me $40 and a promise. I promised to meet the rest of my family and we were all gonna go to Disney World. I promised that I never got to see, and I promised I didn't believe when I heard it.
He has had more things he's had to deal with without getting into too many details. He's had more things he's had to deal with than any kid I know and that any kid should ever have to deal with. But you would never know. He doesn't allow that to be, he doesn't use it as a crutch. Any other kid, it would be so easy to just give up, but he doesn't allow that to hold him back.
I will be the first out of my family, which includes my mother, my brother, and my mom, to go to college. I want to be at the top of my class by the end of this year. I'm already in the top 10. I want to finish it out as the top.
I remember giving him a book to read. It was a college level book that I had when I went to school, and it was over, I can't remember what the historical topic was, but he read it in 3 days. And he gave it to me and he's like, oh, I can't believe they did this, and starts going in like full depth detail about what he read, and I was just like, oh, this kid's got something to him.
I wasn't always a good child. Elementary school was like a tough time for me. I hung out with the wrong crowd. I think my turning point was 5th grade. And I was near the end of 5th grade. And my teacher, Mrs. Martin, saw that I had a knack for writing. So I wrote this speech, and I gave it, said it out in front of the whole crowd, and I made Miss Martin cry because the speech really talked about how my class was impacted by the teachers that we had, and our biggest impactor was Mrs. Martin. I'll never forget her because she stayed on me. She saw something in me. She saw I had potential. She saw that I wasn't like every other kid and that I wasn't a naturally bad student. I was just with the wrong people. And Mrs. Martin wanted me to be better, so ever since then I've never gotten in trouble at school ever again. 6th grade on to my now 12th grade year, I've never been suspended, never had detention, I've never had a teacher say a word to me. And Miss Martin was my turning point in 5th grade.
Okay, so earlier this morning, first hour, one of our vice principals came in today.
Seeing I was busy, I said, Javon, can you take care of the principal?
So he called me over there to tell him what we was doing.
Javon did not hesitate, went up to the principal, answered all the questions for him from A to Z.
And the vice principal, he said he really liked what I did for him earlier today.
the principal was so impressed with it. As a matter of fact, I checked my email and it already went in and put in the compliments, you know, for what the student had, the way he performed.
So I've been in ROTC since my freshman year, and I love it. I would consider the Army, but I prefer school. I prefer school over Army. I would only take Army as if it was the last option, but I just love what they teach in the class. It's different. We learn leadership skills. We work with other people. It's just different. It's a different class. It's like no other class.
Javon was a little rough on the edges, always been a good kid, little, you know, pleasant kid, fun to be around. I'll say that. I describe it as that.
One thing I would use to describe myself is goofy. I'm very goofy. I've always been like that for as long as I can remember. My mom, she can be goofy at times like me. I remember one time when me and my sister, we stayed with my grandma and my uncles, I think it was April Fool's Day. My mom, she woke us up and then she acted like she was gonna give us a whooping, and we started getting scared, like, what did we do? What did we do? And then my uncles came out and they're like, April Fools, and then we was crying and stuff, all sad. That was a day to remember.
Our family is more women. So he's been brought up basically by women. His grandfather passed when he was 12, I believe, and that was kind of like the only man in his life, and that really tore him up because that was all he had. But the women in the family raised him, so.
And I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing right now if it wasn't for the Urban Ranger course. After high school, I'm planning on to go to college to study for pharmacy and medicine. My mom's a nurse, and when I was younger, we used to stay at Walgreens, and I loved the atmosphere. I loved it. I don't know why, just something that clicked. I just loved the atmosphere, and when I got to work up there with Mr. Moore, I loved it even more. I really don't know what it is, I just love it.
Javon doesn't seem to be intimidated by challenges. One incident was I needed to get a deposit over to the bank. He watched the bookkeeper and how she made a deposit. I asked him, you think you could do it? He said, yes. So he went back there, he did the deposit by himself, and I said, are you comfortable taking it to the bank? He said yes. He took it and he was out the door and to the bank, and he did a great job. I was impressed by that because I'm thinking, you know, when I'm 17, 18 years old, I might be a little intimidated by that. So I don't think Javon is intimidated by a challenge.
The one thing that I learned from working at Mr. Moyer's is that he owns his own pharmacy, which means he can run that pharmacy the way he wants it ran. And I want to be able to own my own pharmacy and have the same relationship that Mr. Moyer has with his customers with mine. I'm always quick to take charge of a group. I have no problem helping other people. I have no problem taking it, like if a teacher steps out and needs me to do something, I have no problem stepping up and making sure everybody needs what they get done to get it done.
Javon is very likable, and that comes off. It's hard to say how, but you know, right away it comes off that he's very likable, he's very respectable.
He understands that it's all about respect nowadays, and he's going to go a long way just having that trait.
Jay, Grandma is so proud of you. And all your accomplishments that you have done. I know it's been a rough ride sometimes, and I hope that you always know that you can come and talk to me if you need me. And we're so proud. I'm so proud I brought you up in the church, and you always help out when you can. And I hope you become a successful young man, a strong young man. Always help your family, and always do all that you can do to be successful. Never forget where you came from, and come back to your community and help out if you can.